Pay my dues time after time. I've done my sentence, but committed no crime.
Hello everyone, this is Nate 82. Here's a little, on this day in history, George Washington was born February 22nd, 1732. But a little side note that George Washington was born actually on the Julian calendar, February 11th, 1732. When they shifted to the Gregorian calendar in 1752 is when they switched his date from the 11th to the 22nd of February. It was on the old style, which is the Julian, and the new style, which is the Gregorian. That's what it was supposed to be. Okay, George Washington was the first president of the United States. Was born February 22nd, 1732. His birthday is celebrated as the federal holiday in the United States, along with Abraham Lincoln's birthday on Washington's birthday. The Monday before Washington's birthday and after Lincoln's birthday, February 12th. How do we really know that when George Washington was born? Tovere Lear, Washington's secretary and closest friend, gave the world a clue. Lear lived with George Washington and Martha Washington at Mount Vernon, and he helped the Revolutionary War general organize his papers on February 14th, 1790. Lear wrote that the president's birthday was the 11th day of February, old style, referring to the Julian calendar, where Washington was born 20 years prior to the 1752 introduction of the Gregorian calendar, intended to more accurately reflect the solar year. When the Julian calendar was corrected to the Gregorian calendar, February 11th became February 22nd. It took 11 days out of September to make it line up with the solar year. George Washington was born Westmoreland County, Virginia, with his father died in 1743. Young George was sent to live with his relatives, first at Ferry Farm and later at Mount Vernon, and the estate of his elder half-brother Lawrence. The first president of the United States was self-educated, privately tutored, and homeschooled by his father and his brother Lawrence for 8 years. This constituted his formal schooling. A county surveyor and colonial activist, he later became a delegate to the Continental Congress and was commissioned as Commander-in-Chief of the Revolutionary War Armed Forces, position that John Hancock had hoped to assume. George Washington was elected President of the United States in 1789 and was re-elected in 1792. He expanded remarks after taking his oath in 1793, set a precedent for the future president's inaugural address. Now, there's a copy of the inaugural address I have, and you can find all this on Library of Congress. A copy of Washington's inaugural address is available at the Letters series in George Washington Papers, where it can be viewed alongside the transcript of the speech. They do it so you can actually, it's hard to read the writing. Letters were an important form of communication in the 18th century America. So important were that the individuals like George Washington kept letter books, large bound volumes used to retain copies of incoming and outgoing correspondence. In in the letter to the Continental Congress, George Washington reports on the Battle of Brandywine. It is one example of Washington's voluminous correspondence. The introduction to the index to the George Washington papers describes their province and publication history. There's a little note here. Tomorrow is Your Excellency's birthday anniversary. I propose to celebrate it in a great ball, which I will give on that account. Letter, Jean B. Dentini, I don't know. Demir, Count de Rochambeau to George Washington, February 10th, 1782. Series 4, General Correspondence, 1697 to 1799, George Washington's Manuscript Division. On February 10th, 1782, the Comte Comte de Rochambeau wrote Washington of his intention to give a ball the following day to celebrate Washington's birthday. On February 23rd, 1782, Washington wrote Rochambeau a letter in which he thanked the Comte for honoring him in this way. What kind of dances did the guests enjoy in Washington's birthday ball? To form an idea of the type of dance that was performed during the American colonial period, see the essay Baraku and Late 18th Century Social Dance in the Social Presentation on the History of Dance, accompanying an American Ballroom Companion Dance Instruction Manual, CA 1490 to 1920. View video clips of dancers performing dances figures typically of this period by browsing the collection of video directory. Guests at Rochambeau Ball have been familiar with the French, Italian, and English masters of social dance, included in the collection of the 18th century dance manuals in these languages, such as Alexis Brooke Okoye Gideon's Méthode pour exercer de l'œil, 1785, George Gennaro Magri's Trento Tirico Pretesio di Baiolo, 1779, and the anonymous English manual, The Gentleman's and Lady's Companion, 1798, by the 1790s, Americans such as J. C. Fraser and Asa Wilcox were published their own collection of dances, and that's in the Library of Congress's Day in History. Library of Congress, look for their Day in History and look through their Days of History. There's good information on there. Thank you very much for your time. Like, share, follow. Please remove your love no matter what you do. Thank you and goodbye. We are the champions.